Hello, my name is Hakon, and welcome back, all you fabulous fighting fantasy aficionados, friends, family, and other random passers-by, for the third episode of playing Talisman of Death. Now, my previous playthrough was a bit shorter than I expected, to be honest, but of course it is still early days. I was trying a different path from my first playthrough, and I made some choices that I think perhaps I will not make again, and I also found some interesting little things that will guide my progress in this playthrough, perhaps, as I gradually hone in on the solution to this book. Excuse me. So without too much further ado, I will get started on my third episode of Talisman of Death, Fighting Fantasy Gamebook number 11. Still quite a few to go. Right, so here we are. I got my supplies, as I like calling it. I got my character sheet ready to go. Improvised, as always. I've got my pens, paper, dice. Got my maps from my two previous playthroughs on graph paper, unusually, because I ran out of squared paper. But of course, I got a new pad, so if I need more than 3 sheets, I've got that ready to go. And I got the book, of course, which is the main thing. So, I think I'm just going to go straight into it now, so just without too much further ado. I do need to make my character first, don't I? Okay, so I did find that the encounters I've bumped into so far in this book, it seems that having a good skill is vital. Yeah, I think that's the main thing with his skill is really vital. And today I've also got a can of Coke, unusually, because I'm on holiday and I've deserved it. I haven't had Coke in ages. So there we are. Skill 1 die and 12. Okay, so that is serviceable. Stamina. So that is 22, and luck 10. Okay, that is actually really good. It's one of the best characters I've ever rolled. I think I'll still go with a potion of stamina and 1. So in this game, you also get 10 provisions, which restores excuse me, 4 points of stamina, and you can't use them in combat. You get 1 potion, which can either restore skill, stamina, or luck, and the luck potion also adds 1 point. I'm choosing the potion of stamina, and it's got 1 dose, also cannot be used in combat. And so I'll get started. So far, not that many sort of red marks on my map, but last time I did bump into a minion of death who not only drained strength or stamina when he hit me, but he also drained 1 point of skill, and that made him very hard to beat. Right, let's get started. So we have background. You are regaining consciousness. Your eyes flutter open to the sound of a songbird trilling joyously. You are lying on a couch of green velvet set on the topmost turret of a great white castle hanging in the clouds. Rising to your feet, you look around. The songbird, whose sleek feathers are a warm burnished gold, is perched on the battlements, resplendent against the ocean blue canopy of a sky in which there is no sun. You are clad in strange, outlandish clothes, breeches of dark green leather and a thickly quilled leather jerkin. On your feet are russet-red calfskin boots, supple and comfortable, into which the breeches are tucked at mid-calf. A heavy sword is belted at your side, and with a shock, you realize that somehow you know how to use it skillfully and with deadly force. As the songbird trills, you try in vain to recall memories of Earth, but everything is hazy and distant. You have been taken from the world you know and trained in the art of swordplay. You cannot remember even who trained you or why, but the hilt of the sword fits your hand snugly. Drawing it, you lunge and parry, marveling at how the sword cuts through the air faster than the eye can follow. The songbird seems unperturbed by your fine display of swordsmanship, but you are surprised when it cocks its head and speaks to you, its voice fluting merrily. Welcome, champion of fate. Do not be dismayed. You are not yet in danger. Where am I, you ask, feeling as if you are in a dream. Far, far from your home, I fear to say. This is the world of Orb, and you are in the garden of the gods. What is Orb? You demand. You will find it most strange and full of wonder, for it is very different from Earth. Men must share it not just with talking creatures such as I, but with weird and fell monsters, giants, dragons, and demons. There are warlocks and sorcerers, too, great wielders of magic in the cities. But do not fear. You have been chosen to be our champion, for you are more likely to succeed than any other on Earth. Now I must complete my task. Come, my masters bid you join them in the chamber below. Please follow me. With that, the golden songbird flutters away down a spiral staircase. Shaking your head in confusion, you descend the stone steps into a large circular room, where two beings turn towards you. Welcome, says one, a pale female figure enfolded in a swirling robe of many colors, above which you can only see a perfectly smooth and hairless head. The robe shimmers, its colors shifting as she steps towards you, catching your mind before you realize what is happening. Looking into her face, you see an image of yourself, fighting for your life inside a huge temple. Then the image shifts, and you see yourself leaving a walled city, hastening alone across the desolate moor, only to find yourself deep in a jungle, surrounded by devils with blue skins. Your nape bristles as you realize that she is revealing glimpses of your destiny. It is only when they are over that you notice she has no eyes in her smooth, pale face. The other figure changes even as you look at him. At one moment he is an ancient white-haired man, heavy with knowledge. At another an infant, wise beyond his years. The metamorphosis through youth to age takes but a few instants, yet flows so smoothly you cannot see the features change. His voice is soft and ageless. We have summoned you here to the world of Orb because we wish to prevent a fatal upset in the balance of nature. The cosmic scales have been tipped too far, and you must play a part in righting them. It is not for us in the garden of the gods to set things right. We cannot fight him who would bring chaos to Orb. Rather we use men as our tools. I shall not say whether you will succeed. The floor of the room upon which you are standing is the most realistic and detailed map imaginable. You can even see small figures tilling the fields and walking the streets of an entire world. A world of pinnacled castles, knights on horseback, their men-at-arms bearing banners which stream in the wind, and strange high-walled cities with towers and spires, concealing the dives of assassins and thieves amongst the splendor. The eyeless immortal steps forward, her robe now the color of the deep sea, and caresses your cheek. We are sending you down to the surface of Orb. If you fall into the clutches of death, we cannot aid you. Do not fail us. Fail in what, you begin to ask, but just then, to your horror, you find yourself being drawn inexorably towards the black crack in the map. The realization that your destiny is being tampered with angers you, and you resolve to find a way back to Earth and your home at any cost. As the world of Orb rises up to engulf you, the awesomeness of what is happening overwhelms you, and you lose consciousness. Now turn over. Need a sip of water after all that excitement. And a sip of Coke. Paragraph 1. When awareness returns, you look around. You are standing in a huge vaulted chamber, deep underground. In the chill air, you wonder what terrible fate may be in store for you. You are utterly alone, without a friend in the world, and you have no idea what fiendish horrors may exist here, so far from home. There are no windows in the chamber, nor natural light, only the ruddy glow of flaming torches that are fixed to pillars soaring beyond sight. The walls are running with damp, the air musty and heavy with age. There are 2 archways at the back of the cavern. Before you can investigate further, the torchlight flickers and a cool gust chills you to the marrow. Something in the unseen darkness is causing the air to move. A light flashes briefly ahead, and an infernal howling echoes across the vast vault. No living thing could possibly have made that dreadful sound, you think to yourself. But then you remember that you know nothing of the dreadful denizens of Orb. You hear the sound of running footsteps approaching rapidly. You cannot yet see who or what is coming. Will you run through the nearest archway, or hold your ground and draw your sword? Now, last time I tried going through the archway, it doesn't seem like that gives you anything but a negative outcome, and so I will hold my ground and draw my sword and turn to 30. The footsteps are coming closer. Suddenly, a sound like a clap of thunder reverberates around the chamber. You look around and see that both the archways have been sealed by huge stone blocks. You are trapped. Turn to 13. Now, and if you go for the archways, you actually will bump into those stone blocks and get injured. Now, this is where we get to the cliched Dungeons and Dragons party. A woman wearing chainmail and carrying a loaded crossbow bursts into the torchlight ahead of you. Seeing you, she immediately points the bow in your direction. 3 men, panting heavily, appear behind her. The first, a tall and handsome man, is dressed in shining silver armor, and the blade of his 2-handed sword glows with a faint white radiance. The next is dressed in a flowing robe of cloth of gold, and wears a smiling golden mask. He carries an ivory staff. The last is a thick-set man with a white surcoat over chainmail. A red cross adorns his breast, and a spiked mace hangs at his side. They stop. Once again you hear a wailing, louder than before. "They are almost upon us," cries the man with the glittering sword. The shield maiden calls to you. "Who are you, and what are you doing here in the rift, the spawning place of all evil?" Will you say you have come from another world? Say that you are on a quest against evil. Try to play for time or attack the shield maiden. And I'm quite sure the only correct choice is to say you have come from another world, because these people can tell that you are telling the truth or not. And I'm technically not yet on a quest against evil, apparently. So I am... even though the gods sort of did tell me that, but yeah. Her eyebrows rise in surprise. All 4 of them look at you in disbelief. The man in gold turns to the priest in the white surcoat and asks, "Is it the truth?" Knowing your story to be true, you decide to wait while the priest casts a spell. "It is the truth," he says, "and spoken from a true heart." The shield maiden lowers the bow and moves over to guard the entrance of the cavern. "What are we to do? The exits are blocked, and I have only the power to teleport one of us out now," says the man in gold. "Perhaps this warrior has been sent by the gods to continue the quest." Sensing the goodness in these people, you wait to hear how you can aid them. Turn to 100. The priest steps towards you and tells you this story. "Long ago, the minions of the god Death in the city of the Runes of Doom fashioned a talisman that would allow them, if the time was right, to summon their god to the surface of this world. That time has now come. If death is summoned, all life will cease. Only death's minions will continue to exist in an awful half-life. His presence will spread like a grey shadow across the world of Orb. Everything will turn to dust, and the balance of nature will be disrupted forever. The lawmasters of Serokab, a group of holy people, have striven to prevent this. They sent a group of crusaders, of which we four alone survive, on a quest to steal the talisman. The fleshless king of the minions of death had sent the talisman to the depths of the rift for safekeeping. We have entered this pit of evil and seized it. He pulls a necklace out from under his surcoat. On it hangs a disc of obsidian, in the middle of which is a skull carved in ruby, the talisman of death. He hands it to you. Here, for the sake of all orb, you must take this talisman and continue the quest. It cannot be destroyed, but if you can take it to your world, it will be beyond the reach of the claw of the fleshless king. You are impressed by the courage and unselfish fortitude of these people and resolve to continue the quest. You take the talisman. It feels cold and heavy around your neck. The wizard turns to you and says, I am going to use the powers of magic to transport you to the surface. Head west until you come to the City of Learning, Grey Guilds on the Moor, where you may discover a way to return to your own world. Do not fail us. Here, take this gold. It may be of use. He gives you a purse with 10 gold pieces in it. So we now got gold 10. As the wizard prepares his spell, a horde of creatures boils into the cavern. Turn to 125. Dark elves and cave trolls are pouring into the cavern, attacking the shield maiden. As the paladin and priest rush to her aid, you see a huge shadowy form looming behind the sea of elves and trolls. The paladin's glittering sword cuts through the horde, but the dark elves are using magic, and the shield maiden is unable to turn back their attack. She falls beneath their onslaught. The huge fiend howls triumphantly, just as the wizard completes his spell. Turn to 185. Suddenly, you are in a blinding sunshine. You are standing at the lip of an immense chasm. You realize that this must be the rift the Crusaders spoke of. The rocky earth is blackened and cracked, full of pits and fissures, and noisome fumes rise from the depths of the chasm. To the west you see a range of green hills, partially covered in trees and thick woodland. A few hundred meters to your right you can see where a forest begins, extending all the way to the hills. You realize that you must head in the direction of the hills to reach Grey Guilds, but which route will you take? If you go through the forest, turn to 256. If you would rather take the more direct route across open ground, turn to 134. Now, last time I went across open ground, it doesn't it doesn't seem to give me any advantage whatsoever. So this time I will go through the forest again, like I did the first time I played. You enter the green, gloomy shade of the woods. After a while you stumble into a clearing and stop, in surprise at the sight that greets you. A huge white she-wolf, almost as large as a pony, is suckling 2 cubs. She pushes them aside and crouches, snarling. Will you back off and leave? Offer the wolf some dried meat? Or attack her? Now, the first time I got to this encounter, I did... I offered the wolf some meat, actually. I think I'll do that again, because I know for sure that if I do, I meet the person that shows up next, and because I meet a druid, and I know I meet one of his fellow druids in the city later. So, I'm down 1 provision. Cross one of your provisions off your adventure sheet. Crouching on one knee, you toss the dried meat to the wolf, speaking in soothing tones as you do so. The wolf accepts your gift. Then a green-robed figure steps into the clearing. He has an oak staff in one hand and a silver sickle in the other. A crown of mistletoe rests on his head. He smiles at you and says, "My name is Wodeman. I am the guardian druid of the sacred grove. Okay, so later in the book there is a question. You have to tell the name of this druid, and it is a Wodeman. I'll actually make a note of that now, so that is Wode. I am the guardian druid of the sacred grove. My friend Snowmane thanks you for the gift of food. Such gentle generosity deserves reward. The blessing of the druids will go with you. May fortune smile on you. You gain 1 luck point for the druid's blessing. I haven't used luck, so yeah, there we go. You look weary, he says. Here, have this. He takes a golden apple from his robes and hands it to you. Note it down on your adventure sheet. Such apples are wonderfully refreshing and will restore up to 4 stamina points. So I've got golden. So basically it's like another ration, really. Golden apple, 4 stamina. But also it's an item, so maybe it's possible to trade, give away, sell, lose, etc. Or have stolen. So I'm just keeping it as an item rather than as a ration. You thank him, and knowing you must continue on your quest, reluctantly leave the idyllic peace of the sacred grove. Turn to 159. Okay, so you force through heavy undergrowth for some time, making your way over the hill and into the thick wooded valley on the other side. You then take a trail heading west and are making good speed until, rounding a corner, you see a huge brown scale lizard with 8 legs basking in the sun. Its heavy-horned jaw is filled with long pointed teeth. You may test your luck to see if you can slip past without waking it. If you are lucky, turn to 267. If you're unlucky, etc. If you prefer not to take the risk and leave the path to cut away through the undergrowth, turn to 384. Now, last time I cut through the undergrowth, this time perhaps I should try to sneak past the what could potentially be a basilisk. And if it is a basilisk, because I know basilisks, they have 8 legs, and they are the kind of lizard that has the same ability as a gorgon or a medusa, in that their gaze turns people to stone. So it is quite a dangerous creature if that is the case. And if that is the case, and you realize that is the case, if you have to fight it by being unlucky, presumably, then of course you might have some skill penalty, or you might even risk getting turned to stone. But I'm just a bit curious to see how this works. So I'm going to try to slip past him in case there is something else there that is interesting. Okay, so I'm going to test my luck, and I got a luck of 10. And I'm rolling an 8, so my luck goes down to 9, as it does every time you test your luck. It goes down by 1 point, whether you're successful or not. And I'm going to 267. Creeping stealthily, you barely rustle the dried leaves underfoot. The soporific basilisk does not even notice you. It was a basilisk, I was right. Which is just as well. Its eyes flicker open for a moment, and a small mouse, which happens to be running across its line of vision, slows and turns to stone. You hurry quickly on your way, lest you suffer the same fate. Turn to 270. So we are now at 270. The trail winds between the spurs of 2 hills and plunges down into a moist and mossy dell. At the bottom, a large dew pond covered with algae is shaded by the boughs of a horse chestnut tree. Your attention is caught by a weak cry. An old woman is up to her neck in the middle of the pool. Her matted hair is streaked green with the scum of the pool. "I'm drowning. Help me. I'm tangled in the weeds," she begs piteously. If you help her, turn to 230. If you just decide to ignore her and hurry on, turn to 65. This could be a trap, of course, but interestingly, of course, in this book, compared to many of the others, it seems that you are very specifically of good character. You are definitely a good person, and you are given choices that seem to be moral choices, and it just feels right to me to try to do good when you can in this book, because it just, yeah, I don't know, there's just something about the way that your character is actually defined a little bit in the text, not just in your own imagination, that means that I feel I have an obligation now to actually do good deeds. So I will go to 230 and see if I can help this lady. Right. Of course, it isn't trap, of course. You wade carefully into the scum-covered pond and hold out your hand to the old woman. There is a sudden churning in the water and slimy tentacles slither around your thighs. The old woman's head rears up at you, revealing a huge horny beak where her chest should have been. Above a bloated body, sprouting 6 tentacles. You must fight the Grendel. Ooh. Okay, so this was actually not the correct path. The correct path is to go cut through the bushes and then you get it that way. So now I know that this is the wrong path. Okay. This is also the reason why I do alternate paths every now and again, because even though it feels like I've done the right path before, it's nice to have it confirmed by checking the other ones and hopefully getting away with it as well. Right, so I've got a skill and stamina of 12 and 22 respectively, and the Grendel has a skill 8 and stamina 9. So I've got a 4 skill point advantage. That means that I need to roll, or the Grendel needs to roll 5 better than me to injure me. So that's pretty good. So the Grendel rolls 7, I roll 8. So she is down to 7 hit points, as I like calling it. She rolls an 8, I roll 5. So that's still me hitting her. She rolls a 3, I roll a 10, she's down to 3. She rolls 11, I roll 7, so that is a draw. She rolls 2, I roll 6, she's down to the final hit point. She rolls an 8, I roll 12, and the beast is dead. And I win and I go to 65, which is where I would have ended up if I'd gone cut through the bushes as well. So and this sort of holds a lot for my theory now, that it seems that whatever you do, you're sort of led along the same path eventually and very quickly, and going on the sort of the wrong, making the wrong choices is causing you a little bit of harm, but nothing sort of complete, no insta deaths just yet. Eventually the hills give way to a desolate grey moor stretching out to the west. After half an hour or so you see a cloud of dust ahead. You can soon make out a group of 20 horsemen. They wheel their steeds towards you, and the drumming of hoofs carries to you over the breeze. As they get nearer, you can see that this is a band of warrior women, clad in chainmail and studded leather armor. Their faces look grim and unwelcoming as they wheel around you, forming a closed circle. Their captain spurs her horse forward and tersely demands what you are doing out here, alone on the edge of the moor. So, before I've tried 2 of these 5 options here. The 5 options are: tell them about your quest, say that you are from another world, tell them that you are the last survivor of an ambushed caravan, pretend that you are deaf and dumb, or demand that they escort you to Gregil's on the moor. Now, I've tried the first 2. They lead to exactly the same thing. You sort of become their semi-captive, really, or their captive, I suppose. What is the next thing for me to try? Shall I pretend that I'm deaf and dumb this time? I'm going to pretend that I'm deaf and dumb. I don't think I've done that before in this game. So I'm going to go to 35 and see if that gives me any advantage. I somehow doubt it. You make some unintelligible signs and grunts, pointing to your mouth and ears. For a moment, some of them think that you are casting a spell and draw their swords, but soon you hear one of them saying, "A deaf warrior. Well, there's a turn up for the scrolls." That's a nice turn of phrase there. Turn up for the scrolls. Not for the books, but for the scrolls. I like that. That was so close to becoming an anachronism. Okay. The captain, I suppose you still have books though, but yeah, scrolls. Turn up for the scrolls. The captain motions you to mount behind one of the younger women, Elvira, who does not seem pleased at having to share her horse with you. You ride for some time, and after a while the women resume their normal conversation. You realize they are members of the Watch, or law enforcers from Grey Guilds on the Moor. You also realize there is rivalry between them and the priestesses of the All Mother in that city. It appears that the leniency of the priestesses has annoyed them. Turn to 197. Okay, so this is different to the other ones in an interesting way. It sounds like you're actually learning something new. So, and they don't take your sword, importantly, because if you go with the first two options, which is asking for help or saying that you're on a mission from God, pretty much, you actually, your sword is taken away from you and you lose 2 skill points until you find another sword. And this does not happen here, which is very interesting. Just a moment. Right, I'm back. Okay, so sorry about that. Got a phone call. Yes, I'm doing something different. I'm pretending to be deaf and dumb, and it seems to be working. I just finished this paragraph, and I'm going to 197. So this is different to what happens if you go with the other options. So let's see how this turns out. So suddenly from behind you the captain shouts, "Look out! Ambush! Everybody duck!" You hear the sound of an arrow whistling through the air as Elvira ducks in front of you. Will you duck or wait to see what happens? And well, I suppose that I heard an arrow and I heard them saying there's an ambush, and I'm supposed to pretend that I'm deaf and dumb. So now I got the option, either I duck and they might realize that I can hear, or I don't duck and I can get hit by an arrow. That is a tough choice, but then again, if I get hit by an arrow, I suppose I would only lose 2 stamina, perhaps. It's not too bad, I guess. So I suppose I should try to keep up the pretense of not being able to hear. So I'm gonna wait to see what happens and go to 224. Hope I don't get hit too much now. Realizing that the whole thing was a trick designed to test you. Oh. Did I realize that? I thought I just heard an arrow. Or did somebody just shoot an arrow just to... Oh, never mind. Realizing that the whole thing was a trick designed to test you, you make no move, and the arrow fired by one of the women, oh, I see, yes, thuds harmlessly into a tree. And I believe that you are truly deaf and dumb. Ah! It worked. So I'm going to... so I'm just making a note here on my map that... I should probably not duck in that case. I'll just make a red square there. You ride on into the late afternoon, moving from the wilderness to a grey, desolate moor. Ahead you can see the walls of a large city. A salute is given as you approach the huge arched gate in the fortified wall. The captain gestures to you to dismount and waves you into Greygolds itself. Thankful for your escort, you wave farewell and set out to discover if there is any way of returning to Earth. Turn to 296. And that is a turn up for the books, because that means that by choosing this path, the talisman is not stolen from me by my almost namesake Hakon, which means that I don't have to go through all the hassle of trying to recruit the Thieves Guild to have it stolen back, which seems very hazardous and convoluted, and I can get on with my quest. So, let's see, where am I now? I'll just go here, perhaps, to 296. And earlier, when I was doing this, it seemed as if the talisman getting stolen from me was inevitable. But then I also bumped into and when I bumped into the Servant of Death, he said, or the option was that I had to give him the talisman if I still had it. And I was wondering how it would be possible for me to have the talisman at that point. And this is actually how, by pretending to be dumb. Okay, so, and deaf. So this is the correct path, it looks like. So I'm going to circle these options now. So now I've got the beginning of the game pretty much mapped out as the choices I'm meant to take. So you walk into the city along a street called Moorgate. Many of the buildings are quite grand, built of light grey stone. The streets are crowded with a mixture of people shopping and young men and women carrying books and scrolls. Will you walk down a continuation of Moorgate called Store Street, or turn left into Smith Street? Now, last time there was... I did meet a lady in green who was a fellow druid of this woodman that I met in the forest. And I'm going to try to meet him, because I think that is... where I'm intended to go now. Let's see. So I've got options on this. I've got them there. So from here I can choose these two here. So 357 or 303. So this is Store Street or Smith Street. Let's go Smith Street. Okay. So I'm going to go to Store Street because I'm going to try to bump into that druid again. So I'm going to 357. You are now in Store Street. It is crowded with shoppers, but your attention is drawn to a woman in green robes who is looking at you speculatively. Her straight hair is cut fairly short and she is wearing no ornaments. She crosses the street and asks politely in a quiet but clear voice, "I believe you are a stranger in this city. Who are you and where have you come from?" Will you tell her that you are on a holy quest and have crossed the wilderness? Turn to 198. Or say that you are just passing through and start to walk briskly on. So I'm going to say that I am on a holy quest. Just like Monty Python and King Arthur and those guys. And I'm going to go to 198. You have come across the wilderness. Did you by any chance come across a man dressed in green robes, similar to my own? He would have carried an oak staff and worn a crown of mistletoe. He would have told you his name. Will you answer, "I did not meet him. His name was Dwithian," or his name was Woodman? And of course, I know now his name is Woodman. So I'm going to 166. Let's see if that is different. Smiling delightedly, she asks about Woodman. You tell her what happened in the sacred grove. Then you are welcome at the temple. I am Lilantha, a priestess of the All-Mother, fountain of life. I am on my way to prayer. Perhaps you would like to join me. Will you accompany her? Or decline and say you must be on your way? So, and I see that the last option there is the same as what I had earlier. So that is up there. Oh, actually, it is the same as... Hang on. I just realized I got 130 several times now. Okay, so 130 is actually here. And as you might recall, if you saw my previous video, that is where I bumped into the minion of death who was demanding I hand over the Talisman of death, and he is the one who drained my skill when I fought him. So that means if you go into Store Street, you had better have met the Druid, because otherwise it is not safe. So I'm actually just managed to evade a brush with death, almost literally, by meeting the Druid here earlier. I think there's a quite good sort of storytelling here as well, how it ties together. So I am going to go to the temple, go to 117 to pray. So accompany. You walk with the priestess into a small grassy square. On the far side of the square stands a magnificent tiered temple, covered by a wonderful hanging garden. A flock of many types of small coloured birds takes flight as you pass 2 guards and enter through the wide green doors. Inside is a long hall decorated with flowers. You both kneel in prayer before the altar, which is loaded with grain and fruit. She prays for the protection of all living things. After a few moments of reflection, she takes your hand in hers and leads you into a small room at the side of the hall. On a stand is a suit of silvery chainmail. The Lampa says, "The All-Mother has spoken to me of your quest. She wishes you to take this. It may be of help." Thanking her, you put on the chainmail, which is miraculously light. It is obviously magical. Gain 1 skill point. So, in this book, like in some of the other books, thinking particularly Forest of Doom, there is a sort of set of armor that seems to be possible to pick up to give you skill bonuses. And of course, this is one of those things that is a little bit ambiguous in the rules, is that it says you cannot get skill beyond the initial score, but then it also says you can only get bonuses from 1 weapon at a time, for instance. So this is not really an increase in skill, it's an increase in attack score or increase in combat skill. So it says gain 1 skill point, and that is for combat purposes. My skill is now 13. So magical chainmail plus 1 gives me 13 skill when I'm fighting and 12 if I am doing anything else that requires skill. Now, in my first playthrough, I also found a sword, so I'm sure there's some way I can get both the sword and the armor both at the same time to give me a +2, but I don't know yet. So, I get chainmail +1. Okay, and this is definitely one that I want to go to, and then I have to go to 130, but now I am definitely more prepared to face death, which seems inevitable actually. I have to do that battle or that encounter with death's minion here for having passed through this part of the city. So I have to go to 130 now. And this is where I meet this fellow here. So as you walk along Store Street once more, you notice that the stores are closing. The throng of people hurrying home parts to make way for a large black carriage drawn by 2 black mares. They carry plumed headdresses made of long black feathers. The cloaked coachman stares grimly ahead. You step into the gutter to let the coach pass, and as you do so, the coachman reins in. Inside you see an empty black coffin, but the name inscribed in silver letters on the lid is your own. The door of the funeral carriage opens, and a handsome man with a silver cane steps down. He is dressed in the finest silver satin and sable furs. A storekeeper greets him. He smiles and nods, then turns to you. I am the envoy of death. I have come for the talisman, he says in a voice of doom. As you prepare to resist, a startling transformation takes place, which seems to be ignored by all around. His magnificent furs turn to rags. Where once blue eyes looked out from a finely featured face, now hollow sockets gaze at you from a blackened and cracked skull. His skeletal hand now grips a tarnished rapier. You realize that nobody else can see the transformation. Give it to me, he says. Will you give him the talisman? Attack him immediately or deny that you have it. If you deny that you have it, it seems he gets a free attack on you, so I'm not going to do that. I'm definitely not going to give it to him. So I'm going to attack immediately, I think, is the only option that seems to make any sense in that case. So I'm going to attack him and hope for the best now. So you catch it by surprise and strike it a mighty blow. It hisses in rage. Well, actually, I got a free attack there. It hisses in rage and pain and lunges at you with its rapier. You must fight the envoy of death. Each time it strikes you, you lose 1 skill point as well as the normal stamina loss. So it's quite a serious guy. So it's now got 8/4. So 8 stamina, 4 skill. And if you win, go to 254. Okay, so this is literally a fight for life, and I'm going to do rather well here, I think, because now I've got 13, 22, and I'm fighting somebody with 8/4. So I got a 5 skill point advantage. He needs to roll 6 better than me to injure me, so I'm standing a pretty good chance here. Touch wood, or a book, I suppose is. Got some wood here. Okay, so he rolls 6. I roll 8, so he's down to 2 hit points left. He rolls 8, and I roll 3, so that is a draw. He rolls 10. I roll 5, that's a draw again. Good thing I found my chainmail, I would have been in trouble now. He rolls 10. I roll 7, so then he is dead. Oh, he is, well, deader. He is some kind of undead anyway, so he is defeated, I think, is the probably the only correct way to say it. Okay. Your last blow meets no resistance. A skeletal form collapses to the ground in a heap. All is silent except for a sudden keening of the wind. You rest and begin to overcome the shock to your system. If you have lost any skill points, all except 1 are restored. Cautiously, you continue along Store Street and then down a tree-lined avenue called Booker's Walk. 2 very grand buildings built of blocks of grey stone stand on either side of the road. A group of young people in blue togas, escorted by a white-haired old man in pale blue robes, enters the building opposite. A flag showing books and scrolls is flying from the nearest building. It appears to be a library. Will you see what information the library has to offer, or investigate the other building to find out what the young people are doing? Now, should I start with the library, perhaps? So I've got library or the other place, so which is some place of learning, presumably. So 3, 4, 6, or 2, 7, 9. I'm going to start with the library, I think. So the entrance hall of the library is filled with desks at which scribes are working, copying books and scrolls. Reclining on the plush window seat is a wrinkled old fellow in the pale blue robes of a scholar. You feel out of place, wearing armor in the quiet of the library, where the stillness is broken only by the scratching of pens. Welcome to the largest library in the Man March, says the sage. Choose any tome or scroll you may wish to peruse. Perhaps I may be of assistance. What is your field of study? Would you ask to read something about the gods, or ask to read about the history of Grey Guilds? Okay, so we got two options. So 3, 3, 6 gods or 1, 9, 6 Grey Guilds. I don't know what's going to give me the best advantage there in my quest. The history of Grey Guilds might give you some clues as to things I need to do here. Maybe reading about the gods might give me some clues as to how I'm going to get to Earth, possibly. I'm going to read about the gods, I think. I go to 396. Oh, did I? No, 336. Sorry. The sage directs you to the Book of the Gods, a large leather-bound tome inlaid with gold leaf. Turning the gilt-edged pages, you realize the gods of Orb are many. You recognize a symbol on one of the pages as being the token borne by the warrior women. Their goddess is Fel Kerinla, swords mistress of the heavens. She is sworn to oppose Rocheval the Good, god of paladins. To your excitement, you discover a reference to the Talisman. Some believe that it can be used to command the undead minions of death. Interesting. Turning the page, you come to a reference to the All-Mother, nature herself, preserver of life, who cares for all. Then you see a bizarrely illustrated page dealing with Anarkil, breaker of edifices, who spurns order. You are just learning of Avatar the One, essence of light, when you realize that it has grown dark while you were reading. You thank the sage and leave quickly, hoping to find a safe place to sleep. Turn to 186. Well, there's probably some hints in there somewhere, but I don't know what they are yet. And I need a place to sleep, so I am going to 186. 186 sleep. Now, just to be sure, have I been to 186 before? All this is pretty much the tavern where I was last time. Nope, no, I don't think so. So, 186 it is. You leave the building and continue on down Booker's Walk. The streets are already deserted and there are few lights in this part of the city. You search for the welcoming light of an inn. Then, without warning, the steel teeth of a hidden man-trap snap shut round your leg, ripping your flesh. You are in terrible pain. Lose 2 stamina points. Okay. So, stamina -2. Shadowy figures loom out of the murk all around you. Their faces glow with a sickly pallor in the moonlight. They are wearing black robes clasped at the neck by shrunken human skulls. Do you still have the Talisman of Death? If you have, turn to 162. If you have not got it, turn to 150. So, I shall be moving up here, I believe. So we have 2 options. 162, 150. And so, Talisman. Not up there. So 162. I've got my Talisman, so I'm going to go to 162. We are the priesthood of death, says one of the figures. We have come for what is ours. Your arms are held and you are searched. The talisman is torn from you by their leader. I have it, brothers. I have it, he exclaims in triumph. Now may our lord enter his kingdom. They cheer loudly, oblivious to the approach of a large group of riders. Stand, make no move, a woman's voice rings out. It is the watch. One of the priests mumbles an unholy incantation. You see a wave of fear break over the women and their steeds. Some cannot control their horses, others flee, but the bravest charge the priests with loud cries of battle. The priests are unprepared. Some are knocked to the ground, others make good their escape, as silently as they came. The talisman falls to the ground, its bearer decapitated as it turns to flee. It is caught up by one of the watch, who announces her intention of taking it to the temple of Fel Kerinla. They wheel their horses and ride away, leaving you to rot. You have lost the talisman. Cursing bitterly, you resolve that if you escape, you will not rest until you have regained it. Turn to 128. So, we lose the talisman, which seems to happen a lot these days. So, you are left alone to wonder how the lawkeepers of this city could be so cruel as to leave an innocent person in such dire straits. You tear feverishly at the trap, terrified of some footpad slitting your throat for his own vile amusement. Soft footsteps approach. You look over your shoulder and see a man approaching. Here, he says, let me rescue you from this trap. He steps on the release catch, which had been out of your reach, and the trap springs open. You step free and he walks along by your side. Have you a place to stay tonight? Perhaps you would like to sleep in my humble abode, he asks, looking sideways at you. You are curious that he should be walking the streets alone at night, but you are also exhausted. Will you accept his offer and go home with him, or decline his offer? So, we have option 1 or 2. So 143 or 107. So decline or accept. I'm going to accept. Although I sort of have a bad feeling about this, but I'm going to accept. Okay. The man's house is a small stone bungalow. He leads you into his bedroom and offers you a straw-filled mattress behind the curtain. Thankful for the chance to rest, you go to sleep without asking any questions. You sleep deeply and regain full stamina points. So I'm up to 22 again now. You wake to find that your host is sitting, watching you. I hope you are well rested. You talk in your sleep. He smiles at you and says, do you need help? Has someone stolen something from you? How did you come to be trapped, alone on the street late at night? If you want to tell him the whole story and ask him for advice, turn to 98. If you would prefer to say that you cannot answer, turn to 92. I think I'm going to go to the next page up now. So here, and we've got two options. We're going to tell the whole story or not answer. So story or not. Okay, I'm going to tell him the whole story because it seems like a nice guy. So let's go with that. So we're going to go to 98. You tell him everything, and he listens with growing amazement. He introduces himself as Apothecus, a sage of history. I have heard of the Talisman of Death. You must recover it at all costs. He suggests that you enlist the help of the Thieves' Guild, as he doesn't think you can recapture it alone. It will be in the temple of Fel Kerinla by now, I'll warrant. Hakon, the High Priestess, will be holding it there. Go to the Red Dragon Inn on the Street of Seven Sins. It is dangerous, but you may make contact with the thieves there. gives you a breakfast of savory pancakes and invites you to dinner that evening, saying that he will try to discover more to aid you. In the meantime, he says, take these. He hands you 5 pieces of gold. Okay, so now I've got 15. And a ring. It is a ring which increases your skill at arms. Add 1 to your skill score while wearing this ring. Okay, so I've got a ring plus 1, so my effective skill for fighting is now 14. So I've got so skill plus 1, ring, plus 5 gold. As you leave, he gives you a jade rose. When you return this evening, show this, and I will know that you are not a shape changer. You thank him for his help and leave the bungalow. Okay, so jade rose as well. Jade rose. You thank him for his help and leave the bungalow. Will you go to the Red Dragon Inn or head for the temple? So 221 or 57, and I think maybe that is on the previous page here. Yes, these 2 here actually. So so this one is coming from, let's see, 98. And they go to 57 or 221. Okay. And of course, that paragraph here is where I was after another night's stay, where I got a sword plus 1. So it seems that it's sort of everywhere now you get these bonuses that will help you in what's to come later. So, okay. So should I head for the temple or go to the Red Dragon Inn? Well, it says they keep telling me that I can't do this on my own. I need the help of the Thieves Guild, so I will go to the Red Dragon Inn. So it seems that, again, regardless of what you do during the evening and the night, you will end up here with the choice of going directly to the temple or going to the Red Dragon Inn. I'm going to go to the Red Dragon Inn, and let's see if I can make some better choices than last time, although they didn't seem too bad. So, you take a side street which leads towards the Street of 7 Sins and are almost pushed aside by a couple of students in blue togas. They are quarrelling and begin fighting in front of you. It seems one of them disagrees violently with something the other has said. Probably discussing free will or something. As they tussle, you notice that the angry young man has dropped a small brass tiger charm. Will you interrupt the quarrel and give the charm back, ignore them and go on your way, or pick up the charm? Now the charm, if you pick it up, it actually makes you pick a fight. So actually it's the charm, the tiger charm, that has caused the battle in the first place. So I think perhaps the best option here is just to ignore them and go on my way. So there we are. You come out into the Street of 7 Sins and soon find the Red Dragon Inn. Steps lead downwards and the sound of raucous laughter floats up from the smoke-filled gloom below. You enter and walk over to the only part of the dive where it is light enough to make anything out. Passing tables and stools, you come to the bar, behind which stands the bulky proprietor of the inn. Do you have the brass tiger charm? Well, if you do, of course, you pick a fight with him, but if you do not, turn to 3. So this time I don't have the charm, unlike last time, so probably I'm not going to insult him like I did last time. Okay. You ask the barman for a mug of ale. While he pours you your drink, your eyes adjust to the gloom and you survey his customers. You have never seen a more disreputable bunch of villainous-looking cutthroats. The barman says, "That will be a piece of gold. Hand over the money." As you replace your money pouch, a dozen pairs of eyes watch closely. The only one who doesn't watch is a stooped old man cleaning slops off an empty table. Will you talk to the barman, walk over to the old man, or approach 6 surly-looking men who look like thieves. And let's just check here now that any of these numbers are not on my list already, not on my map already. So I'm going to put my 3 options here. So 88, barman, 19, old man, or 280 thieves. I'm going to go over to the old man first of all, I think. The toothless old man mutters at you, tells you that this ale cellar is a dangerous place. Having given his warning, he shuffles fearfully away. Will you go back to the bar? Or go over to the table where 6 surly-looking men are sitting? Well, I'm going to talk to the barman in that case. See if he's got anything interesting to say. The barman says, "You're not like my usual customers. A rough lot comes in here most days. These fellows don't rely on charity for a crust, you know. Will you try to make friends and ask him how he keeps order, or ask him how to get their money? How they get their money?" So I think I'll just going to go up to the second page again now. So this map is going to be messy as usual, so just duplicate the 88 here from 1903. Okay. So I'm going to go to 119 or 102. Okay, so 102. I'm going to ask him how he keeps order. I think I'm going to try to be a bit friendly and like that. "I manage, mostly," he says, "but it puts me in mind of one time not so long ago when things really got out of hand." It goes on to tell you a story about Heimdall the Mighty. It seems that Heimdall was one of the strongest and most unpleasant men ever to have swilled beer in the Red Dragon. One day, a stranger, Tjuchov, accepted his invitation to a bout of arm wrestling. Heimdall lost for the first time in his life. He was furious and threatened awful reprisals if Tjuchov ever returned. A few nights later, Tjuchov did return and began methodically to insult Heimdall and 2 of his friends. In the inevitable fight which followed, Tjuchov killed them all and carved his initials on Heimdall's forehead. He worships the god of insane chaos, Anarcho, and since then none has dared gainsay him here, even though they are all thieves and murderers. You decide the time has come to introduce yourself to the thieves, and you walk over to their table. Turn to 280. Okay, so a bit of backstory there, and I got that story last time too, but I don't seem to have any of the same paragraphs, so I guess the same story is repeated in different paragraphs. So 280 it is. 280, which is move that up to here as well. Okay, so I'm just going to do a little bit of overlap now between the 2 pages of the map. I'll live. Anyway, you introduce yourself to the motley group of villains. They do not reply. You persevere, saying that you only wish to speak to them for a few moments. One of them, whose face is marked by a jagged scar running from ear to chin, fixes you with a stare and grates. "We don't care for the law, so watch yourself. You could be dead before you knew we'd moved." Well, you ask them the way to the Thieves' Guild. Say you need help with some unfinished business, or boldly retort that their threats don't scare you. Now this is... two of these options are down here actually, so I'm going to go over here and... 246, so that is one of these options is down there. And then there is also 145 or 167. So 167. Not scared. Okay. Now, if I said I needed help with some unfinished business, that seemed to sort of lead into the right kind of path. Maybe let's go with that one again. Or maybe, I think all these paths in some way will lead to the same place in a way. Should I ask them the way to the Thieves Guild? Will they think that I'm a bit daft if I do that? I'm going to ask them the way to the Thieves Guild, see what kind of response I get from that, because I didn't do that last time. So Scarface says, "What do you mean? Are you suggesting we're thieves?" There is an edge in his voice and a tension among his comrades, two of whom have their hands upon their daggers. Will you hotly deny it? Say that you are, ignore this, and say you have valuable information for them. Okay, so it looks like maybe the correct way to do it is to say that 246 looks like it's the best option. So right, there's also then 272 or 281. I'm going to go with 246. It looks like that is the best option now. They appear interested and offer you some ale. You accept a mug and do not drink. You suggest that in helping you they might gain a great deal. They agree to meet you and tell you to come to the Thieves Guild at midday tomorrow, via the disguised coal hole in Hornbeam Road. You begin to chat to them. Turn to 169. Of course, I've been to 169 before now. Two newcomers enter the Red Dragon ale cellar. The first is a very tall, wiry man whose frame is draped in a black cloak. The only hint of color is his hair, very curly and dyed bright corn yellow. The second is a handsome young woman dressed in a bizarre patchwork of armor. The barman mutters under his breath and forces his face into a smile. "Chuchov, Cassandra, welcome," he shouts obsequiously. The thieves move away from you to sit at another table. Chuchov strolls to the bar and orders a drink. Cassandra sits opposite you and at your table. She ignores you and Chuchov joins her. Will you say nothing, get up and leave the ale cellar, or introduce yourself? Now, it is possible to pick a fight with them. I'm not sure if I gain anything from that apart from fighting them. I'm not sure if that is what you actually need to do to sort of win favor with the thieves, but then again, they already told me where to go to find them. So I'm a bit puzzled as to whether I should pick a fight with this guy or not. I certainly would be able to beat him now with 14 skill. I'm going to say nothing. I'm going to do option 2 now. I didn't do that last time, so. There is an uneasy silence in the ale cellar. Chuchov looks across at you and says, "I don't like your face." Cassandra nods in agreement. If you retort, at least, unlike you, I am wholesome to look upon. Turn to 294. If you meekly reply, I'm sorry, I was born that way, and leave the ale cellar, turn to 305. Right, so that's another path to a battle, it looks like. So, it looks like we have... This goes up to 294, where I have been before, or 305. I can't just leave, can I? I think I need to pick a fight with this, with these people. So I'm going to 294. Which is here. At this they leap up, whipping out their blades, and move to attack. Turn to 368. Okay. Chichov's sword is almost as tall as you are, and he wields it negligently in one hand. Cassandra's glows coldly. Each time she hits you, you must subtract 3 stamina points. And if you reduce Cassandra's stamina to 4 or less, she drops back, and Chichov moves in to cover her. If you reduce Chichov's stamina to 4 or less, turn to 353. So I'm not sure if I should just go straight for Chichov, or if I should do Cassandra first. I should probably attack Cassandra first. Okay, so I am currently on 1422, and I don't have a huge advantage in this battle actually. So there's Cassandra at 910 and Chichov at 1012, and I'm presuming I'm fighting them both at the same time now, otherwise this wouldn't make any sense. So I'm going to start attacking Cassandra, and of course I'm going to defend myself against the attacks by Chichov. So, or should I just go for Chichov? I have to hit her 3 times. I'm just going to go straight for Chichov. Okay, so let's turn these around now. So 10, 12, 9, and 10. Okay. So I've got a 4 and 5 skill point advantage. I'm going to start with Chichov. He rolls 6, and I need to roll 2 or better. I rolled a 4, so he is down 2 hit points. Cassandra rolls 5, and I roll 7, so that means I defend myself against her attack. Chichov rolls 5, I roll 6, so he's down to 8 hit points. Cassandra rolls 10, and I roll an 11, so I'm defending myself against her attack successfully. Chichov rolls 7, I roll 10, so he's down to 6 hit points. Cassandra rolls 7, and I roll 3, so that is also successfully defending myself. And Chichov rolls 5, I roll 7, so he's down to 4 stamina, and that's when I go to 353. And see what happens next. Your last blow has drawn a gout of blood from Chichov's side. He jumps back and says, Anarkil, breaker of edifices, aid me. He is calling upon his god. Before you can strike the killing blow, the cellar starts to shake. An earthquake opens great cracks in the floor. There is a roar of tumbling masonry, and the inn is filled with dust. In the confusion, Chichov and Cassandra make good their escape. When the quake has stopped, you climb the steps and leave. Turn to 289. So I don't really need to attack them in that case, do I? I don't seem to gain anything from it. Okay. So You step out, squinting against the bright light of the late afternoon sun. Add 1 luck point for visiting the Red Dragon Inn and living to tell the tale. So my luck is now back to 10. And I'm sitting in a strange way now, so I'm going to shift my position a bit again. You are back in the Street of Seven Sins. If you have met a sage and he has invited you to dinner, you may turn to 229. So, and that is the case. I'm going to go to 229. And on your way towards the sage's house, a small boy runs up to you and asks if you would like to help a very clever scholar and make some money doing it. It won't take long, he adds, tugging at your sleeve. Do you want to thank him but decline and go on your way, or will you go with the boy? I'm thinking that is a trap of sorts. 216, boy, or decline. I'm going to decline and keep going. You come to the door of the sage's house and knock. After a few moments, a manservant opens the door. You explain that you have come to see the sage. The manservant asks you for the token. Do you have the token? I suppose it means the jade rose, yeah? Turn to 6. If not, turn to... I presume that maybe the boy can steal that from you or something. Anyway. So, token, question mark. So 131, no, or 6, yes. The servant says, "Ah, yes, you are expected. Please come in." You follow him into the parlor. The dining table is laid for 3. Apothecus rises to greet you and introduces you to his friend, Diodorus, a sage who is an expert on travel between the planes of existence. He tells you that there are portals or gates allowing travel between orb and other worlds. He suspects that you may have been brought from Earth to Orb by means of such a portal. When you recover the Talisman, he says, you must leave Greygills and walk southeast until you come to the Great Plateau. Mount Starreach, the tallest mountain on the plateau, has at its summit one of these portals, through which you must pass if you wish to return to Earth. And now to more immediate matters, says Apothecus. You can leave the city by the postern gate in the cemetery. If you get into serious trouble, you may be able to call on the All-Mother for aid. To do so, cry, "All-Mother, Nature herself, preserve me." Hang on, there was something about this in the introduction, wasn't there? Just wondering if I'd seen something like this. No. Okay, so he makes you repeat the words and you commit them to memory. Note them on your adventure sheet. He explains that the All-Mother is the fountain of all life, the opposite of death. She may be prepared to help you, but only once, at the time of your greatest need. However, remember that no deity can intervene in another's temple. You thank them both and turn in early after this sumptuous meal and peacock, basted in spirits of Ra and other exotic dishes. You wake up refreshed, gained 4 stamina points, don't have anything to regain there. So plus 4 stamina and hint and All Mother. So now I can call upon the All Mother, just like Tuchov called upon Anarkiel in the pub. So that's 1 use. Okay. So set out to find the Thieves Guild. Turn to 64. Okay, so that is up there. Okay. As you set off, you see a small group of people clustered around a man wearing a flowing grey cloak and one dangling gold earring. He is making huge bunches of flowers appear and disappear to cries of delight and amusement from the crowd. Will you try to find a way into the Thieves Guild? Turn to 83. Or try to regain the Talisman on your own, or stay and watch the magic. Now, trying to get it on your own sounds like an extremely foolish idea, and after all this trouble you've gone through trying to get Thieves Guild on board, and of course being advised to do so by two good men on different occasions, I will try to find a way into the Thieves Guild. So, have you been told about the storm drain? Yes, I have. So I'm going to go to 183. You turn right down Traders Row and walk for some way looking for the storm drain. Eventually you see it, and checking that you're unobserved, jumps down it. You land up to your ankles in slime. You weigh down the huge drain until you come to a small round door set in the left-hand wall. Test your luck. And I've got a luck of 10. And I roll 5. So luck goes down again to 9, and I am lucky and go to 238. As you open the door, you slip on the slime underfoot. A glancing blow catches you on the side as a harpoon thuds into the door. Lose 2 stamina points. If you are still alive, you look behind and see the firing mechanism of the trap. You open the door and step into a magnificently furnished room. Evidently, the Thieves Guild lacks nothing. A group of men, some of whom you recognize from the Red Dragon, are lounging on sofas. They leap to their feet in surprise and reach for their swords. Will you place your back to the wall and draw your sword, or calmly tell them that you have been invited? I'm going to tell them I was invited, because I was. If we had really wanted you to come, don't you think we would have told you the safe route, says a thief with a scar running from ear to chin, whom you recognize from the Red Dragon. They move towards you purposefully. This is the welcome we give to the likes of you, he continues. Will you place your back to the wall and draw your sword? Or sit down telling them to kill you if they like, but they'll miss out on an attractive proposition. That is what I'll do. So, 209. Scarface looks you up and down for a moment. Then he says, "Right, I'll get the Guildmaster. We'll see what he has to say." That's how all thieves speak, isn't it? Well, in East London in the 19th century. There is an uneasy silence before he returns with another man. Scarface says, "This is Vagrant, Guildmaster of Thieves." Vagrant is a handsome middle-aged man wearing an ermine jacket. Twirling his moustache, he asks you the purpose of your visit. What will you say? You need help to steal something, you want to steal the Talisman of Death, or you will lead them to a hoard of priceless jewelry. Yeah. Well, last time I told them I wanted to steal the Talisman of Death, and that seemed to sort of get me on the right track. Shall I try? I will lead them to a hoard of priceless jewelry this time, just to see if that piques their interest. Where is this priceless jewelry stashed? Demands Vagrant. If you tell them to follow you and you'll show them, turn to 349. If you tell them that it lies in the temple of Felkirinla, turn to 333. Okay. Three, tell, or 349, show. Maybe I should try I'll tell them to follow me and I'll show them. I'll see if that works, because it just feels... No, it doesn't work. Vagrant sneers. Who do you think you are? A god? Vega the Deceiver himself? Get thee gone. He waves his arm dismissively. Turn to 367. Yeah, didn't think that would work really, but... Oh dear, so now I have to do it on my own. So that is definitely the wrong choice in that case. Okay. Good luck to you then, says Scarface. The thieves are still pointing their crossbows at you. Vagrant leaves, and you decided it would be prudent to do the same. There seems to be nothing else you can do except tackle the Temple to Fel Kirinla alone. You set off in search of it. Turn to 383. Did I not get a 383 somewhere before here now? Yes, there we are. So, there we are. Okay, so obviously I didn't manage to get the help of the Thieves Guild now, which is probably not ideal, but there you go. You spot one of the warrior women who you know are members of the Temple of Fel Kirinla. Hoping she is on her way to the temple, you follow her at a distance. Eventually you come to a building made of white stone with dark grey columns. Steps lead up to the entrance between two pillars, and there is a guard at the top. What will you do? Attack the guard or tell her you have a message for the High Priestess? So I will 2, 3, 4, 2, 2. So attack or message. I'm going to say I have a message. The guard beckons you inside the temple. Just as you enter, you almost bump into Hakon, the tall, raven-haired high priestess. Who is this? She barks. The guard explains that you claim to be a secret messenger, but have failed to give any password. Hakon says, this person is no messenger. Die, desecrator. Cursing your ill luck at meeting Hakon so soon after entering the temple, you turn to run. Hakon lets out a scream of invocation, calling on the powers of her goddess. A pillar of flame engulfs you as the power of Fel Kirinla is unleashed. You are burnt to a cinder. Turn to 109, and this is where you get to the point where you actually can resurrect and start over again from the beginning. I'm not sure I actually like that so much as a mechanic. So obviously that is not a good idea. The other one is probably just as bad. So what happens is you can be sent back in time basically to start from the beginning. So your spirit floats gently towards the Valley of Death. The featureless, wind-blasted plain stretches away endlessly beyond the horizon. The souls of the dead wander there aimlessly in solitude. Just as you approach the edge of the valley, an ethereal wind gets up and your soul is wafted away. Soon you feel yourself in the presence of the two who summoned you to this fantastic world of magic. The eyeless being in robes of shifting hues says, all is not yet lost. You understand the words without hearing them. If your spirit is willing, we will reunite it with your body and turn back the wheels of time. The other being offers you a choice. If you wish it, I will send you back in time. You will be at the lip of the rift again. Do you wish to go back in time to attempt the quest again? If you do, he lays a hand on your shoulder. They disappear. You are alive again. Your wounds are healed and you have 10 provisions. You have only the equipment with which you began the adventure, including the Talisman of Death, if you had lost it. Anything else you picked up on the way has disappeared and will have to be crossed off your adventure sheet. Your skill, stamina, and luck are at their initial levels. So I could technically then play again the next time with the same set of skills, but I can do that because they're quite good. Suddenly you are on the surface of orb once again. Turn to 125. So I suppose to be continued, I shall create a new character sheet here. So skill, stamina, lock, 12, 22, 10, provisions, 10, and I am starting over next time at paragraph 125, and to be continued. Yeah, I'll use that mechanic this time and see how that goes. Yeah, I thought that was quite an interesting little jaunt. I did find some things I'm definitely not doing, and I did find some things that I might definitely be doing this time, or next time, which is quite helpful. I'm getting closer to the solution every time I play that, and I'm really looking forward to the next time so I can see what happens and how I'm going to solve this problem. So there you have it. Talisman of Death, episode 3, and soon to come episode 4, where I continue the whole thing. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like, share, subscribe, all those usual things that I hear people do on YouTube. Please comment if you liked it as well. It's always nice to hear from people enjoying my videos, and I will see you again next time when I play Talisman of Death for the 4th time. I think this might take a few times to find the correct path and win. It seems a little bit tricky, and also you do need a good skill, it seems, although most of the battles I've fought are avoidable, and I think the one with Chuchov in the Red Dragon Inn is also perfectly avoidable. I'll have a look at that next time and see if that is possible to avoid entirely. Yeah, goodbye for now. Bye bye.